Yo, my boy.
What's up, polygamous bastards?
What's gonna come back now? Yeah. Oh, cheers, boy.
Cheers, boy. Cheers, man. Oh, yeah, bro. Cheers. What are you drinking there?
The cider.
So, all in all, basically, are we saying that polygamy is purely defined by the, well, now we're saying that it's more than, it's not a marriage thing.
No,
It's,
so
it's,
for
it's,
me, I still think
it's not a marriage thing.
no, I still think polygamy for me is marriage is the actual like it's the difference um between that and everything else. Because as soon as you get married to someone, then it's not about you
Defining.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
about the children. It's about the children and it's about the duties that need to be made. So as soon as you do that, especially from a guy's point of view, it's like, no, why would you get married? Like you don't need to. It does. It
yeah.
actually most of the time it doesn't actually make any sense for you to get married, right? You'd rather just go around and do whatever you need to do, right? Where and then you can say after when you die, okay, just before you die, okay, cool, I'm gonna get married, have some kids. You can actually have some kids without even getting married,
Yeah,
right? Which
exactly.
is might not be a good game to play, but it's still it might actually in some certain circumstances for someone that doesn't want to commit or is not ready to make better sense to not get married. So yeah, I know it's. I mean,
Mm.
it's a good thing that I'm talking about it now because a lot of people, you know, they talk about the terms as if they are talking about the same terms, but they actually think about it
Exactly.
differently.
That's
Yeah.
why
So the fact that
the defining the term is very, very important to understand
yeah,
what that
yeah,
fucking thing is.
yeah. Yeah, so like
Because
I
if,
said, for me, it's still a marriage thing, but I think the way that we're talking about it now, in the sense that people are born polygamous, I'm trying to find a better word for it. To say like people are born to want other people or to
yeah,
want as many people as possible, and so you're born wanting as many people as possible, and then you go around to the as you get older and as you start to age and stuff, then you start to shorten your numbers down,
yeah.
and
Can we
then you
say
become monogamous.
you you're born polyamorous and then you pick polygamy and then if you want to be monogamous, you become monogamous? Like, is it like
Yeah, yeah,
polyamory is like the
yeah,
broadest
yeah,
sense of
yeah.
it all, and then
Yeah.
you fucking become and you say, okay, cool, I pick you, I pick you, I pick you, I pick you, and then monogamy, I'm saying I pick the one, and then it's like done, no one else.
Yeah,
So we're all
yeah. So
born
and then,
fucking
and then that polyamory inside of you might still be there, but then
might still
socially
be
you're
there.
like, nah, it doesn't make sense. And it has to be there in a sense as well, because if it's not, it's like where did it go? You know, it's like you can't just one day all of a sudden say, okay, cool, I'm gonna marry you, and then cool, I'm gonna shut down all my feelings and all my network of wanting people and all my desires. I'm gonna shut that down, and then I'm
Yeah,
only gonna be about this person. It's like, of course, what if you meet
yeah,
someone that looks like that person or that acts like that
exactly,
person? You're not gonna get aroused, of course you
exactly,
are. But then you social or you personally then say, no, no, I'm not gonna do that. Which is why then I think the discussion is like iffy about well then are you then always polyamorous? Is it your desires, right? Which is why I was asking also Porto that I like if polygamy is a good thing, yes it is in the sense that personally it's a good thing. So if you're a guy that gets a lot of chicks, it's like why not? But
yeah,
if you're a guy
yeah.
that
Who
doesn't
is
get
no one's
anyone,
complaining?
yeah, if you're a guy that doesn't
Mm.
get anyone, which is most of the guys, or most of the girls as well, then what?
Yeah.
Is it a good thing for you for society? And
Or
that's
not
the
even
that,
not even most of the
No,
guys. It's
well,
like the
it's
quality
not a
guys.
good
You know
thing
what I
for
mean?
you. It's not a good thing for you,
eh?
but it's a good thing. It's not a good thing for you, but it's a good thing for the species because then you form part of the you form part of the weakling in the species, and then you must die out naturally.
Charles
Naturally,
Yeah,
Darwin.
then
so
you
Yeah.
must die out.
yeah,
Charles
so
Darwin.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is that so if I for example could not get any girl, right? Or okay, just since we guys now we'll speak in from that point
Yeah.
of view. If I couldn't get any girl and I saw a guy that's getting 10 girls and I'm like, okay, well my options are die out or die fighting, I will fight,
Yes.
right? So then it's like, well then it's, yeah, so then it's like,
that
well, that's when I'll start simping. That's when I'll start being a bitch nigga. That's when I'll start
yes.
doing things undercover. That's when I'll start doing whatever I need to do to make sure that,
So
look,
that's
I
not
need to rig
producing
this
a
game.
good thing.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah, I
producing
need
a
to
good
rig
thing.
this game.
It's not
It's
producing a
almost
good
like a
thing.
state of
Yeah.
poverty, right? It's almost
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
state of poverty. It's like I see
You
my
start
neighbor.
stealing, you start breaking in, looting, you start doing all that shit because
Yes,
you're
yes,
at the
yes,
bottom end of
exactly.
the stick.
Yes.
Yes, because my because zero sum game, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, man,
And
my
then
leg is dragging.
yeah, and that is very, very important for human survival as well. Because remember, we are trying to multiply ourselves as much as we can, you see, and then we are also trying to make sure that we don't get we don't get we all get the good stuff out of the world. So yes, and then
It's not.
remember
It's not. It's not even that as much as we can. It's as much as we can with the best possible people.
exactly. So
Yeah, because you can multiply. You can multiply a lot of people, but if they're bad, then you still die.
yes. So we do need what we Sims are very, very important in our society. We do need Sims. I mean, they are very important. They raise our kids. They raise our kids. They love them as they are when we die. And then, I mean, we need such we need such we need such people if they are going to work for our benefit. But my point is that you cannot wipe that out. You need such people. You need such people, and also for the survival of the species, and for our survival as a species, you have to have such competition, and then you
And
also
that's the
cannot
thing.
win.
It's competition. Yeah, it's
Yes,
exactly that. Not even
competition.
just that.
Yes,
It's
so
the
Natural
opposite.
selection. You know.
It's competition.
yes.
Mm.
Yes, so competition is necessary at all times. I mean, it's necessary at all times. So what in most cases, what monogamy does is that it eliminates. We sort of engineers the society to sort of eliminate competition, and that is bad.
That is what?
That is bad.
Bad.
Yes.
So the way that I see monogamy as is that it might eliminate competition, right? But it pair bonds. So it also allows that then the people that might have then turned violent or turned the whole game around don't necessarily now do that. So even the guys now that could not get the girls, or even the girls that could not get the guys,
Yeah.
now at least can get someone, and they do not now
Yeah.
try to rig the game.
At the bottom end of the
Yeah.
pool, they're all finding each other
Yeah,
over there.
but then it's like a pacifier, a dummy. You know that thing that you give to a kid, instead of
Pacifier.
instead of
Yeah,
giving
fair
the
enough.
child the breast, and then you give them that
Fair
thing
enough.
just so that they can. But then even that. Now remember, how long does that process last? It doesn't last that long. After some time, the child starts seeing that this is fake, and then he either throws it away and then forgets about it. You see, so basically that's what happens. And then even in that, even if we can be able to do that with people, we can be able to do that with people, but to a certain extent. There is a time whereby such will not be able to work, and then just like, for example, as it is happening now. I mean, the level of simping right now is it's up the roof, and then again, as much as it is so, we have sort of deregulated sex. We have deregulated sex in such a way that now, even the guys that were actually let's say limited to 4, they can now get even 20 or 50 women. You see, so at the end of the day, nature will still go back to its default setting, or it will die out.
Yeah, I still think though, even with that, you would rather give a child a pacifier than to starve that baby. Because if that baby starves and they're going to get into a situation whereby now they're going to be in survival mode, then the only thing to do is to kick out and to lash out.
They're going to rip off your breast.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
monogamy
exactly.
is necessary. It's a
Yeah,
it's a
so
necessity.
so that's why for me it's like polygamy is great if you're one of the top percentage of people that can get as many people that you can get. That's great for you. And it's also great for the women that are around you in that vicinity, right? That can then. Who the hell is this?
Come on, man.
Some idiot is calling. Oh, it's this idiot that's texting. Okay. Anyway,
Balikan,
so
bala puta.
hey.
No, it's any point. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, so it's good if you're the 1% of people that can get someone, or they can get more than one person, because then you've won the game, you've won the jackpot. It's like you being the 1%. It's
Yeah,
like you have all the money in the world. It's gonna be great for you. Why would you then
yeah,
want to give that money away? You worked hard for it. But the problem
yeah.
is that you are part of the minority, right? And then you are part of the woman of the part. Oh, again, like I said, I was speaking from a guy's point of view because we're all guys here. It's that the women are part of the 1% as well, right? That get to share that with you, right? And then the rest of the women don't, and the rest of the guys don't, right? But then those other women say, okay, well, there's other women that are there that are sharing this with you. I also want to be part of this. And the
I want
other
a part
guys
of this
go,
as
well, then
well.
who's going to be with
What do
me?
we do? Yeah, yeah.
So what they do is then they rig the game. They just say, okay, well, the game is placed like this. I can't win it, so I'm going to rip this whole thing
Yeah.
apart. And that's where violence comes in. And then it's not good for anyone in the game. But the thing is, for them, it wasn't good to begin with. So any sort
In the
of
first
change is
place.
better than nothing. So it's like I was in
Mhm.
poverty. So if I try to
Yes.
change the system and I burn things up, what's the worst that can happen? Poverty? Well, I'm there.
I'm
So
already fucked
now
already.
what?
Yeah, I'm fucked
Exactly.
already.
I'm already
Yeah,
here.
I'm fucked.
You see, so
I
and
got
then
You
the
and
know,
then
you
pain
even
in
know,
then
my
it's
foot.
like, well, it's like even then it's like, well, maybe even if I'm still stuck in poverty, but now the people that are having more than me, or the guys that are having more women than me, or now I'm not
they're,
going to
they're
have as
not
much.
enjoying.
I'm
Yeah,
not alone here.
yeah. Because
Yes, so
you
that's
know
the
what
issue
you are
that I have
saying.
with polygamy.
Because
Is
I
that
also
is
feel
that
like the
it takes care of the people
ratio,
that get whoever they need to get, but then it
yeah,
leaves everyone else, and that everyone
and
else,
that's
especially if it's going to be males, they're going to do something about it, because
it's going
that's
like
predominantly
that's
what they're
true.
there for.
Yeah, that's
So as
true.
soon as you pair bond people, then all of a sudden you go, okay, well, look, you can only have one, man. You can only have one. You can only have one. You can only have one. Yeah, let's say you can then fuck around in the background, but still you're not married. So it's like at least he gets something. At least he can say this is mine. Then
Yeah,
let him fight with something that is his, that he thinks it's his. But
because the
if you don't let
game is
him
already
fight at
rigged
all,
anyway.
then it's game over for
It's
you.
already rigged. Yeah,
Yes, which
no,
is
it's
why
true.
simps become an issue, because they go, I can't get the chick, so I'm just gonna go and talk to your girlfriend.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Fuck your chick. I'm gonna talk to
Yeah.
your wife. I'm gonna
Yes, and
talk
I'm
to
gonna
your
go and I'm gonna go and tell them. I'm gonna go and tell the things about you that you told me in what's this in private and all this stuff. And you're thinking, why the hell would someone do this? And it's like, have you ever starved?
yeah,
And you see
exactly.
it as well. It's like,
This nigga. Are you there, Poto?
Yeah, I'm here.
You- Oh, he's there, because yeah, we're just gonna
that
continue,
that's the
bro.
thing
We're
is that
good.
yeah, that's the thing. I think polygamy does is a great thing if you are one of those guys that can
Who
get
benefit?
all of the chicks. Yeah,
Mm.
it's great, but and it's great for the girls as well. The women that can now say, well, I don't have to be with the lower guys. I can then marry still the upper guy, and I can still get those benefits. It's not locked. As soon
You
as he's
know,
with
you
someone,
know,
it's not locked. I can also connect
you know,
myself.
yeah.
So it works
You
for
know
them.
what you're talking about, for example, it reminds me um of for example, South Africa as a country, and then of, well, other forms of governance, for example, your communism, your capitalism, and all that. You see that naturally people would want to be capitalists, meaning that they would want to have their private property. They would want to have
Yeah,
borders. They would have to want yeah, they would have to want, they would want their private property borders, and then they would also want to be with the people that, with the best people, you see, which is the same way that you would see. And then basically now when we
And
bring
you should,
the
and you should want
yes,
that. Yeah,
yes,
that's
you
your
should
goal.
want
That's
that.
your drive. You should want that.
Mhm.
Yeah. The problem
So
is you don't.
so
As soon as you get, as soon as you realize that you won't get there, then you say, "Oh, I don't like capitalism."
yeah, but now what happens is that, yeah, in fact, I think what happens is that uh, in capitalism, they also there's also a time whereby you find that, okay, now capital, just like for example in South Africa, it has been exhausted to the point whereby the ones who have, they have everything. They basically have heaven, and then
Yeah,
the ones who don't,
in the world with
the
everything, yeah,
ones
it's a
who don't
monopoly.
have, they don't, they have nothing, they have shit basically. So now uh, then communistic, like the ideas, communist ideas, that's where now the communist ideas come in, the socialist idea, communist and socialist ideas come in. So they come in the same way that that monogamy gets imposed, which actually shows that this
It's
thing is
introduced,
not,
yeah.
it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily normal. It's just a way that it's just imposed, just as something that was built by the society to try and avoid
To
future
control
trouble.
the
Because,
situation.
yeah, yeah, to control the situation. But then naturally, that is not, naturally, it should be capitalism. But then they decided, the humans, they decided that no, after a certain age, we are going to have a problem if we continue in this direction in the future. It might not happen now, just as, for example, you would have as for example, even Juju always says that it is very dangerous to have an unled revolution, because once you get to a point whereby the people are all fed up, and they're all fed up in different levels, in different levels, in different ways and all that, then it becomes very difficult now, because it's not going to be good for anyone, and then they won't have a problem because they've got nothing to lose. So they will probably go either steal or, and so it's very important, as you are saying, for those that have to then reach a point whereby say, okay guys, I think we have enough now. Let's share our women. Let's let them take our single mothers and then raise them, and then be the stepfathers. At least it's better than nothing. They can get the second child, even so. So that is basically what is happening, and then yeah, that's basically what is happening. And then I think which also further proves that it is not natural. It's basically what we agree upon as human beings to avoid future chaos, because to avoid future chaos, which we can easily predict and see. So the capitalism and polygamy, those are natural, and then you will have the ones that are corrective, which is your communism and socialism, and versus the monogamy yeah, monogamy basically.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah. The one big difference as well with well, one of the biggest differences as well with the whole marriage thing as well is that it's like if you're in healthcare, for example, you can only provide help. Like if you're one person, you can only take care of one person, even if there's 16 other people in the other rooms. So at one time, you can only be there with one person. So you can't share yourself, right? So over time, you can give this person 10 minutes, then you go to the next room and then give that person 10 minutes. But in that time, you're not there giving this person the 10 minutes. You're giving someone else 10 minutes. It's only one of you, right? And then you have to keep going and keep going and keep going. So wherever you are, someone else is not getting something. Wherever this person is, someone else is not getting something, right? So then if you have a polygamous relationship, that happens. So if you're an attention seeker, you want attention, or you want someone to be there with you and your children and your life, you're not going to get that from someone that's polygamous, right? Which is another thing that is different with capitalism, right? So as soon as you then say, okay, well then let's pair bond, then you at least then can say, well, I will have someone there. and this person is not dividing their time. And because time is well, time is money, but also time is going to be very efficient for you and the child, or and your family, and your problems. So you don't want someone that's going to be there for 10 minutes, solve something, and then disappear and go to the next
Then
house.
fuck off. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And then you're gonna go, oh, but I've got another problem now. So what do we do? Do I have to wait for you to come back? And then you have a plethora of men that are just chilling there thinking, well, I can solve this problem. I can take you to the airport. I can pay for your drinks. I can go take you out on dates. I can go and buy you a dress. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then you go, well, then the woman goes, well, why would I fight with you about getting a dress or going out on a date when you're taking other people out, not me, when I can have someone else there?
Yeah.
You see, so then they connect with those people, and they're necessary because they then do what you're supposed to do with them that you can't, and the reason you can't is only because you got one body. There's only one of you. You can't pay attention to that person. And that's one of the biggest differences again with humans, is that you need to be there. It's not like
but putting an argument on that, putting an argument on that statement, I think it's I agree with that, but I also say that can only that happens when there aren't sort of clear lines of dominance, you see. Because let's, for example, make an example of how women in concerts react when a celebrity is coming, or when, let's say, Chris Brown or whatever celebrity is coming, is on the stage, you see, or is not on the, maybe is performing, or if they know that a certain celebrity is in town, you would realize then that actually they actually have to be very, 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 very well disappointed or hurt for them to actually reach a point whereby they say that, okay, now I no longer want bad boys. I no longer want bad boys, or I no longer want a man that's wanted by. But in most cases, and then naturally, they are always going to gravitate to the guy who has got, who does not necessarily need them, who has much, much more. I mean, you have been to concerts, you have seen how women take off their panties and bras and then throw them to the guys. They, in that state, they actually forgot totally about the boyfriend that is at home, and then is trying his best there. Because in reality, women would rather share. In reality, women would rather share a very, very rich and powerful guy than be alone. In one lousy guy that is.
Do you think it's the word is rather share, or maybe it's within them, innately in them, to maybe to have the ability to share, like you were saying earlier about
as males, it's the same thing that we do. The same thing that we do when we go to a concert or a strip club. It's like you forget that you have a wife at home, but you know that where the boundary is. So you still have to, like your instincts are not even, they're not yours. The DNA network that you have within you is not yours. It's a generation. You're just a body that has it, but it's generational. And then all of a sudden it gets put in you. And now you have to carry that out. It's not like you can wake up one day and go, oh, look, I'm not going to be attracted. It's like, it's not your choice, bro. You need to be attracted. It's not for you. It's for the society. So you need to be attracted to someone because you are a product of attraction. So now you've instilled that in you, and now you can't all of a sudden go, well, I don't want what I want. It's like, it's not even what you want, it's what society wants.
Not a choice.
So that's part of the problem that you have with females as well, is that they, half of the time, or most of the time, before they reach the menopause, is that it's not about what you want as the female per se. It's about the fact that we as a human species need to have the best possible people here in the future. So whatever you pick it needs to be the best possible person for the future. So that's why your demands are high when you're looking for guys, because you're the one that ultimately sits there with the baby in your uterus. It's not the guy that does that. That's why the guys they don't really care who the hell they sleep with. It's like, well, I can't sleep with you today, well, then I'll sleep with you. Right?
100%.
Where then the selectors are then going to be the female, but then the selectors behind them is the nature itself. Yeah, it's nature itself to say have the best possible people, because if you make the wrong decision of who to sleep with, then we're going to have a killer on the streets. Then Jeffrey Dahmer is going to come and cut the whole population in half. So we can't have that happen. Right? So you need to make the best possible choices. And that's the trick that they have, or that's the problem that they have as they grow up, is that then they have to balance that out. They say, well, I want someone that's going to do this and do that and do this and do that. And then us guys go, oh, this chick's crazy. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
But in her mind, it's like, it's not what she wants to say, but it's what's best possible for the next human species.
Exactly. It's within.
Yes.
It's
But
an
for
intrinsic
us,
thing.
it's like,
within.
well, if she doesn't pick me, that means I'm not the best. So I have to tell her that it's terrible. But if that was your daughter, then you would go, well, I'm not sexually attracted to her, and I'm not sexually, I don't need her to be a sexual selector for me, so I want you to pick the best. But if it's someone else, so you go, well, why aren't you picking me? What's wrong with you? Why do you want so many nice things? Are you crazy? Like, come on, pick me. And then she goes, nope, I want the guy with the, that's going to be on a horse.
I think it goes back to that thing of like, again, of like, if you're at the bottom, if you got the shorter end of the stick, you're going to try and find a way to rig the system because it's not working for you. Because you're the one who's not going to get that shit. So you're trying to find a way and say, all right, well, fuck that shit. Why are you doing that? Why are you fucking so many guys? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It's like
but that's the trick that females have, right? Is that because ultimately you could possibly then say that every guy is going to be at the bottom because everyone is below everyone, right? So even if like all three of us, one of us might be at the top of the food chain, but then if someone's above us, then you're not at the top, you're below. So you're going to be at the bottom of the food chain somehow, right? So the problem that females have then is that, well, you can be as picky as you want, but you then do not get the time that guys get, right? Which is what's on our favor, is to say, well, look, pick whoever you want. I'll wait. As soon as you can't get the guy that you can get because you're also in a hierarchy and someone else gets them, then who are you then going to go for, right? And how long are you going to stay that way? Because how long am I going to want you then for? Then you don't even now come to me. You go to someone lower below me because now I go, nope, I don't want you either because now you're not at my level. You were going for someone higher and you wanted all of that glam. And all of a sudden he said, nope, because he left you for a better girl. And now you go, okay, cool, I'll settle with Nate. And Nate says, oh, but I've advanced now. And now, boom, you're back at the bottom. And then you reach 40. And then you're really almost down at the bottom because the guy said, look, even if you're attractive, I'm not going to commit because I want children. Even if you're attractive, I'm not going to commit because I want children. So you pretty much have like a 20-year gap then as a woman to find out what's going to happen. That's when you can then go flaunt and say, no, I want this, I want that, I want this plate, I want the steak.
Until you cannot choose anymore. And then you'll take whatever the fuck you can get.
Yes. And then for guys, it's almost the opposite, right? So, okay, cool. You're gonna dip me now in high school and I look gawky and I'm a short guy and I don't know how to talk, fine. But time will come and I'll work on the things that you guys want. And as soon as I get to my late 30s, then I go, cool. Now I've got everything that you want.
Yeah.
And then the girl that I wanted in high school goes, oh, well, I was going for Potso, but Potso got engaged to someone else. But no, Nate, you look amazing. And then Nate goes, no,
it's like in the beginning of it all the guys who are at the top of the level, they get the top chicks and then they fuck them up. And then they get all the chicks that are fucked up, they go to the guys that aren't at the bottom of the level. They go to
the bottom of the food chain.
All of a sudden they look appealing.
Yeah, because the guys at the bottom of the food chain go, oh, okay, so you guys fucked up all those girls, brought them to us, and then what you did was you then married the girls and had children with the girls and stayed there and made sure that you committed with them with girls that were not fucked up, right? And you want to give us the girls that are fucked up? Fuck that. We also have high standards. So we're going to go for the chicks that aren't fucked up too. And then the women get passed on even more. And they keep going, get passed on even more. Which is why then the women have to set those high standards because they lose the most when shit like that goes south. Whereas guys, we
100%.
can go, okay, well, you know what? No, it's fine. I was a whore back in high school, but or whatever.
It's fine.
I'll find someone somewhere because there's always going to be another woman at the bottom of the food chain. Because my seed can populate more than a woman can have one person or can get pregnant. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the problem. And
Yeah,
that's why I
exactly.
said polygamy is that it works for the guys at the top, but the guys at the bottom go, well, I'm not stupid, and I'll wait for the game to get rigged, and I'll wait for an opportunity somewhere somehow, and I'll play it because it's if I don't play it,
Yeah.
I die.
Or,
So it's
or I
not
rig the
really a choice.
system myself. I rig it myself because that's the only way it can work for me. I've got to rig it because this is not working for me. I don't have any money. I don't have any house. I don't have anything to bring to the table like these fuckers have at the top. So then I'll wait for these guys to fuck you up. Then I'll take whatever I can get, I suppose. Does that make sense? So yeah, polygamy it works. It works for the guys at the top, I think. But I think definitely polygamy is definitely I believe we're all polygamous in some way, man. I think it's how it is naturally. It's we all fucking wanna have as many as we can.
Yeah, well, when we say polygamous again, don't forget we're talking about that without the marriage, polyamory.
Yeah. Polyamory,
so-
polyamory, yeah, polyamory, polyamory.
Because otherwise, it wouldn't be attracted to everyone,
Yeah.
and you need to be
I
because
think that's the question that I think it's because we are attracted to everybody that we feel like this monogamy thing is like how can you tell me I got to pick one person when I can be into many people? How
And
can
you
you say
should-
to me I could?
and
Yeah.
you should be as well because it can go south.
It always goes south.
It
It always goes south because when you're with one, it will always go south.
Porto.
It always. I'm telling you, it always does.
So are you going to be like are you married? Are you married right now?
No.
Or do you think that you're going to be polygamous, or do you think you're going to have more than one wife?
Of course. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, but then also for many other reasons. I think I've ventilated them in most of our interactions, especially with Lunge, because as I said, it's to if you, I'll make an example.
I'm just gonna charge my phone. Keep talking.
Oh
yeah, because I think, for example, let's say maybe you and I, and then when you decide to, let's say, to have a child, let's say maybe you decide that you're going to have just one child, you haven't actually reached the replacement rate, because that one child can only replace you. And then you still have to have two children to be able to reach the replacement rate. Meaning that now you can replace yourself, and then you can also replace yourself, and then you can replace your spouse as well. And then you actually start having a population growth when you have child number 3.
That's when the population actually starts to
That's
multiply.
when the population starts to increase, because the other two were just the replacement for the two of you. So
and
the only
wife,
time, yes, the only time when you start that is when you have a replacement is when you have 3 per person. Yeah, when you start having 3 per couple. That's the only time whereby we actually say, okay, now we have started increasing the population.
That's true. Yeah.
So now we look at what is happening of what is currently happening in the world. Find that okay, people want to have one child here, one child there, one child there, and that only proves that we are actually a dying society. We are going to work like that. And another thing for many other, maybe other dictatorial selfish reasons. And then I think I've also told Lungelo this, that I run a waterproofing facilities maintenance company. And then in that, every time I have to spend, I will say monthly, I have to spend something close to 50,000 just on the salaries of the people. And then all these people that get these salaries are people that I cannot say that they really care about me or the company. They were just in it for money. And then, which is not bad, because I'm also in the deals that I'm in sometimes for money as well, which is not
for your benefit.
For my benefit as well. And then you look at things like that, and then you also look at the fact, and then also going back to how I was raised, how my dad we were 5 at home, who passed away, and then looking at my dad, where I come from, that okay, we're 5, and then I'm looking at the cost. I don't have a child at the moment. Well, I only have one child at the moment, but then I don't have a child that is actually at the age of being economically active in my organization. So that means that every month I have to part ways with plus minus 50,000 on salaries to people who will not, maybe even who will just find the next organization if I die, or if I die. And then that means all that I've done, the hard work would have been would have been in vain. And then now moving to the next part of that very same problem is that, okay, now how do I solve that problem? To solve that problem means that I have to employ the strategy that my father did. My father saved a lot of labor costs because he had children who were there to help him. And then we helped him until we left home, basically. And then if he had more, and then he would probably have even more to actually take over the skills that he had, improve them, and then make sure that that is also secured for the next generation, or even maybe the next 2 generations. You see. But then now he can't have that now, because he cannot necessarily have that now, because out of his children, the children that he had, not many actually like what he did, or not many actually liked farming, and then we all had to branch in our ways that we prefer. But then if he had more, the chances, if he had more, it's basically having a dice with a much more corners. You would have thrown it, maybe 2 out of, let's say, 20 kids would have decided that, okay, we want to take over where this guy stopped, and then we want to move the organization forward. And then that is basically one way to. But
then you still also, as much as the more kids you have, you also increase the probability having that don't want to progress that organization and want to kill it.
Yes, it increases the probability, but then the probability is not the same, because if you have got one child and one child decides that I don't want to do it, the 100, it's 100%. It's well, basically 50-50. It's 50-50 that you are not gonna look. But if you have got 2, just like with the dice, for example, the chances of getting, let's say, no, it can't be 50-50 with the dice, because the dice does not have 2 corners, does not have 2 sides.
So one kid can say no, and the other kid can say yes. So that's 50. They both can say no, right? Which is 100 to no, and they can both say yes, which is 100 to yes. So the problem.
Yeah, but statistically, because remember, at the end of the day, we as humans are natural cost calculators. Statistically, as I said,
you end up having to pick the kid that actually does want to do it anyway.
Exactly, but then if you only have one, the chances of you having a selection pool aren't there. So it's actually bad to have one. If your goal, your focus is that, it's actually very, very bad to have one, because you do not have that much choice. You don't have enough selection pool. You have no selection pool actually. You see, because you have that one person, and then if you have got more, and then you train them, and then you have got a bigger pool, so you are gambling better. It's a
You're
better.
gambling
The
better according to
probability
that
increases,
business.
so there's more
But then
chance
are
of
you
many
gambling
things
better
happening. Yeah.
according to the business of life? Because then the more kids
Yes.
you have, the more that you're gonna have to take care of. Because the ones that you're not that are not going to want to go into the business, how are you gonna take care of them?
No. Remember, what happens is that, of course, you cannot be able. Let's say, for example, some decide that okay, we're gonna be musicians, and then we're gonna be what we're gonna be what. We're gonna be musicians. One decides that I'm gonna be nyaupe boy and all that. Then even then your generation, it's your legacy is still at a much better, because you still have maybe one or two or five that can decide that this is what that is the reality. It is not I'm not the first one to suggest it. It's also what history has suggested, that is the best way to do things, because until this day it has been a working strategy. It's just because you look at most, in many cases, a lot of monarchs, for example, that, and then which is the funny thing is that when the monarchs decide to marry many women, that's not called cheating. You don't hear a lot of people saying that Mrs. Zulu is gonna be cheating, for example.
Yeah.
But they also
That's
understand.
polygamy. It's
Yes,
polygamy.
yes,
It's
Yes.
polygamy. Yeah. It's not
yes.
cheating. It's not infidelity. It's
Yes.
polygamous. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means that these people at the top actually understand. That's why they also marry within each other. That means they understand the importance of this gambling game that life dictates that they play. You see, and then the only people that don't understand this game are obviously the poor, and the poor, and then the ones in the middle, because they are still controlled by the idea of love. They are still controlled by the idea of by the fear of scarcity.
Of morals as well.
Yes. So so if you look at such, you will see that it is actually a better gambling. It is actually a better gambling strategy than having one or not having one, or having few out of fear. Because in most cases, a lot of people would have few out of fear that, okay, what am I gonna feed them? It's never. And then remember, when that happens, there's also an admission of inadequacy when you say that I'm only gonna have one because I can afford because I can only afford one. There's already an admission of inadequacy there. You see, but when you look at, for example, when you look at the rich families and then the rich nations, or people who are not necessarily rich in terms of money, but then rich in terms of abundant thinking, that they do not have, they are not bound by the same restrictions that those that are poor bound themselves with. You see.
So, but that's the thing, right? Is that again, it goes back to what we said in the beginning of the fact that does work for that select few that does have something and then can afford to have then 10 or 20 kids. But if
It
you
works for
are
those who are privileged, who are born in that situation.
you're gonna have,
yeah. Yeah, but remember, even their privilege. It's not like their privilege was it's not like their privilege was a rolled dice either. It had to come from somewhere. Someone you chased, you go down the line. Someone had to take.
Yes, for sure. So someone made that decision, and then one of those kids then ended up there.
Continue
but the nine that aren't talked
idea.
about are the ones that died off.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, you also want that. You also want that situation. You also want that outcome, that even if the nine die off, I want to, even if two win and the nine die off, then it's fine, as long as my dream and my goal and will perpetuate. You see, will propagate. You see, so that is where the goal is. That is why we have a queen that just died now. And then if you trace the monarchy, it's a long. I'm sure it's over 200 or 300 years monarchy. And then that has kept them into power. Of course, there are some that will never even smell the throne until they die.
Yeah, exactly.
the fact that the pool is there to choose from.
To choose from. If there was one kid, if there was one Elizabeth and one son, it would have been that pool would have been.
It would have been out. So the fact that that happens, it means that it gives them a chance over any other family, for example. You see. So for what do they call it, progression planning, or whatever you wanna call it, succession planning. You cannot have a true succession planning if you are not willing to gamble on the numbers, on such numbers. It's critical. It's very crucial.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So I guess then polygamy has it's basically like anything. It's got its good parts and it's got its bad parts. It's just like monogamy, I suppose. It's got its good parts, got its bad parts. Like anything in the fucking world, it can't be all good and it can't be all bad.
No, it can't be all good. Because remember, because remember, for example, even in the, like, for example, in the Zulu monarch, we're gonna keep on making an example with that because it's the closest we can buy. And then, so even if you look at that, it's not necessarily that they were all in good terms, for example, but it's not necessarily that they all liked each other, but then they all want the same thing. Even though, for example, and then some of them are gonna get crushed also, of course. There are some that are never gonna smell that throne, as I said. But then it is still better to have that pool than to not have it.
That pool, yeah.
Because if you don't have it, you are dead. You are basically,
the legacy is gone.
Yeah, whatever you were working on, whatever project that you were working on, it dies with you. And you don't want that. Well, unless you are really you really don't care that much. But then I don't think you wanna build an organization and then give it to spend 20, 40 years building an organization and then throw it to people who don't care, or just let it die. Of course, you have to start.
Maybe to bring a point that the importance of having maybe a male child, that they continue the legacy of the family name. I suppose that if you have only females, it's like, fuck, there you go, bye bye, there goes your name, there goes your fucking name. You need that pool to at least carry the legacy, even if it's 3 or more. I think 3 is the minimum if you want to fucking continue.
That's the interesting conversation. That's the interesting conversation as well, because it's like, it's almost as if you're sexist now if you think that way. And if you're a guy that if you want to be a traditional guy and you want your seed to propagate through generations and you want that to happen, and you know that the only way that it can happen is if you have a male, all of a sudden you're sexist. And it's like, okay, but that's the only way it can happen. So that's what I want.
Come on. Yeah,
exactly. It's not to say that you don't want females. It's like, well, look, if females were the ones that propagated surnames and names throughout, and then I would want a female. But it's not the way that it works.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's simple as that. It's not like it's a sexist viewpoint. It's just logical. It's
how it is. It's how we were all born into it. It's not like we chose to be born into, say, a male. It's how we were born into the world and how things are fucking going.
And the thing is, again, it's like if you, when that male gets born, it's not like he's not going to face his fair share of things that you don't want him to face. But now we're just talking about where you want your seed to be, where you want your legacy to be. That's how you want it to be, and therefore you want a male. But if you're going to say, okay, well, look, you don't have any legacy to carry on, so therefore, what do you want, a male or a female? It's like, well, I don't have any legacy. Why would I pick a male? Because chances are he's going to land up in jail. Or he's going to land up being accused of raping or sexually assaulting someone. So you know what? I'd rather actually choose a female, because even if I'm going to get a guy, what's going to happen is he's not going to be able to go that way, so I'll choose a female. But that doesn't mean you're sexist. It's just the way that things are that's what you want. So you can't call someone's decisions and someone's preferences and with a logical sense, sexist or non-sexist based on how you actually want things to happen. And that's the issue that people say, well, I don't see it that way, so therefore you're sexist. It's okay, whatever,
Yeah.
fuck you then.
The same way they would say like being a polygamist is misogynistic or some type of male patriarchal powerful thing of it, but it's not. It's just how it is. It's a logical
Yeah,
thing of
it's like
this is how
I,
it
I,
is.
would- I yeah, it's like I posted this thing now with Bill Burr about this thing about big girls and it's like you encouraging a big girl to do something or to be big and to look great and you look amazing and you're like, oh my God, and then deep down you're like, I would never do that because I'm gonna die. But oh, you know what? You go on, and it's like, well, if you tell someone that they're unhealthy, all of a sudden you're fat phobic. It's like, what do I fear
You're a
about
fat
being?
phobe.
What is there to fear? It's like, no, I don't fear it. I'm actually trying to care for you to say, look, like this is science. Science doesn't care
Yeah,
about any phobics,
yeah.
right? If
You
you
are
want to
fat.
disagree with science, then go for it. It's
Exactly.
fine. It's not
Yeah.
mine. I hope it wasn't
Exactly.
true. But
Yeah.
now
No,
that
it's
it is,
true.
it's like that's the way that things are, which is what we're discussing now. It's like all of males and female people more polyamorous or want to have more relationships than not. And it's like, well, no, they are polyamorous. Well, you guys are sexist, or you guys are dogs or hunters. It's like that's nature.
No.
It's not like I
Yeah.
chose to want I chose to be attracted to this person. But yeah.
No way.
All right, boys. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No,
Well,
I've taken some stuff from Porto here. In some polygamy. Thanks
yeah.
for
You
for
must go and grow
reassuring the
it.
polygamy. Eh?
You must grow
Dude,
it. You must go and make yourself more.
hallelujah. The minimum is 3. I always say, how many kids do you want? I always say, as many as I can have.
Yes,
As
yes.
many as I can
As
have.
many.
As
Exactly.
many as I'm blessed to have, I'll take them.
Yeah. Yeah,
If I
but
can provide
then
with them, of course.
3, if you have failed, 3 should be, but then not
But
less
here's the
than,
question:
not less
Would you do you think that you would have those kids? Do you think you would have more than one or 3 kids if you were the primary caregiver of those kids in the first, say, 5 to 10 years of their life?
Are you saying, would I have those kids if I
Yeah. So,
was?
like, do you think that you would have the urge to have 3, 5, 10 kids if you were the primary caregiver of those kids in the
If I
first
were a
five to
woman,
ten
if,
years?
if I were a woman, is that what you're
Yeah,
asking? If
Yeah, I
basically.
wouldn't. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't want to. Of course, I was just having a chat with
well,
the
well,
husband
Well,
well,
I'm just
well, well,
thinking.
well,
I'm just thinking.
yeah,
Like I'm just thinking about it. Like it's. I mean, for guys, for us guys, it's easy to say that because it's like
yeah,
you're not gonna get pregnant. You know you're not
yeah.
gonna have to look after the child. You
carry
know
it.
that there's gonna be someone there. You know that I'm having a child with someone else. It's not like if I
And,
say to you now, oh,
I
you want
thank
3 kids?
nature for that.
What if I just adopt 3 kids to you? Then you're gonna go, oh wait, I don't mean like that. I mean like I give, not I get. So
Mm.
so then it begs the question of, well, then is it from a female point of view? It's like, well, is it then a thing of is it like a male privilege one, but then also is it like, no, I don't want to say sexist, but not thinking from our point of view, because it's like,
Wait,
well,
you
you're
don't.
thinking about you
You
want
see,
to have
you
10
see,
kids, but you know that you're not going to take care of
you
them,
see,
so therefore you can have whatever you want. It's like if I say to you, look, you've got 10 jobs, you don't have to go to 9 of them. Do you want them?
yeah,
Of course I do. But what if you have to
yeah,
go and work 24 hours? Then it's
That
like,
was for
nah,
them.
actually, I'll prefer
Fuck
one
no.
yeah,
job.
Not
yeah.
even now. Fuck no.
You see, but to quickly answer you there, uh,
Yeah.
I think it's good to sympathize. But then even sympathy as well, again, has limits, because remember, trying to always put yourself in the feet of, in the shoes of other people, you might end up not moving, just fitting people's shoes. And then I think the most important thing, you have to define your mission, define what you want, and then because the fact of the matter is that there are things that you will never get to experience, no matter how you try. I mean, you will never
How
know how
much
it
you empathize. Yeah,
yeah,
you
how
can
much you
empathize as
because,
much.
for example,
Yeah.
you will never know how it feels to have a dick inside you, if inside your pussy, because you don't have it. That's the first. That's
Mm.
another. So you trying to imagine that might be nice, might be well, nice or scary in your thoughts, but then it's something that will never happen to you. But as a man, as a man, you have your purpose, and then that purpose might not be nice and might not be so might not be so healthy, or might not be so nice to the next person. But if it is your purpose, it is your purpose to procreate and then make more of you, of yourself.
But
It, that,
I think
that
in the spirit of trying to understand and make it better, it's important that we think how it must feel
yeah,
to be in that situation. But
yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah,
We're putting
yeah,
them
that's
in
why
a
I'm saying that
situation.
sympathy is good, but then it should have limits as well. You cannot because you would be scared if you were to sympathize, to think of how a woman, of the pain a woman goes through during birth. I'm sure you probably, if you were to internalize that and make that part of you, you'd probably stop even having sex. You see, but you still go in there and then you do your part. You see, because
Sarah?
it's not it's not nice. Even though it's not nice for the other person, but then it is your part. You have to do it. That's I think that's also the tragedy of nature, that it really is not fair, and it's not supposed to be fair. It is what it is, and then sometimes we just have to work with it. But then you as a man, it is better for you to actually have more of yourself, more to secure to make sure that your genes propagate, and then your genes are the strongest. Your genes are not gonna be wiped out by other genes as well.
Yeah,
That
and I
you
guess the counter for that was no sex before marriage on the woman's point of view.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, of course, of course, of
Failing
course.
dismally on that point, but where are we
Yeah,
moving?
that's the counter is because I mean, if you think about it as a mom or as a father, you would think, geez, well, guys think like this, like yeah, and they're supposed to. So therefore, it's like, well, don't get into it if you're not sure about it,
Until, yeah,
because
Yes,
if you're
yeah.
not
yes,
sure about it, you will then suffer for it. And it's like, no, they
Again,
must
they
stop
have the
thinking
power.
that way. It's like,
Again,
no, you need to have them think that way. But you need to then actually take care of yourself. Because if you don't,
yes,
then you will just be part of the people. Which is
yes,
again, I guess, another topic for another day. But that's exactly that. It's like, well, you guys need to think better. It's like, why? Why do I have to think better? About what? I don't have to do anything.
I don't need to.
I don't
Yeah.
need to. It's actually better if I don't, for both of us. So
mm,
why would I have to think better? I don't have a loss in this. Nothing.
mm,
Right? So why would I have to think better? If you were in my shoes, I would like if you were in my shoes, you would think exactly the same way. It's just that now you're saying we should think better because you're not in these shoes. And it's like, cool, fair enough.
Yeah.
I can understand it. But at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that suffers. But as soon as you say that, it's
yeah,
almost taken as, oh, well, it's always a woman that has to. It's like, no, well, you don't have to. Don't. You have all the kids in the world. You see what happens.
See what
yeah.
happens. See you exactly.
The whether it doesn't really matter how we feel. I think the results of our choices are the ones that are always gonna punish us. Whether she decides that it's men's responsibility, for example, to wear condoms and then to not think like we do, to not want to have many children, and also just because in that thinking, sympathizing too much can end up paralyzing you, and then you also can end up not achieving your mission because you are so worried about. I mean, it's like you say that that in a game of football, for example, there has to be a winner, and then again before the game of football, all people pray. They will pray, or all they will pray to the same God, and then hope that their team wins and stuff like that. But then there is gonna be a loser, and then
A
do you
loser,
want the
yeah?
loser to be you? Of course, you don't want the loser to be you. So, but then if you were to sympathize with the loser, maybe you'd end up not even getting in the game. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe let me take the burden for this guy, and then he wins and then you lose. So
That's true. That's
yeah,
true.
so
That's very true.
when it comes to such things, then it's really very important to make sure that you complete your mission. And then I'm also aware of the fact that at the current times that we are in, it is almost impossible to maximize and to get the most number of children out of the one partner that you want to have in monogamy, which makes monogamy a very deadly currently, which makes monogamy a very sort of deadly approach to life at the point that we are in, because we can see currently it is not working. Maybe it will work at some point. And then another thing that we need to be aware of is also the fact that, remember when China set limits on the number of babies a person can
Kids,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, yeah.
They had that, and then they started by having one child policy, and then they increased it to 2, and
True,
then
yeah.
they reached a point whereby they are now starting to beg people. I think even in countries like Italy, for example, they now starting to incentivize people for having children, because people are no longer having children. And it's dangerous for any society, because now how you see the danger of it, you will see the danger of it in preschools. I was speaking to a friend is in Italy, and then he was telling me about how most Italian preschools now have got more than 50% of children that come out of Italy, because the Italians are not making enough babies. So in preschools, the children that are there, more than 50% of them
Not even Italian.
are not of Italian,
Are foreigners.
Yeah, they're basically foreigners, or the children of the foreigners that are working there, and all that. So that is dangerous for any community now, because it's actually a colonization by balls, by sperm.
Yeah, it's under threat. It's under threat. Yeah.
Yes, and then you don't want that. You see, you really don't want that. That's why, for example, even what is happening in even the Europeans, I'm sure they're also going to start panicking. Well, the entire Europe, because now you have and then Africans can be extremely good at this, because they likely have the dominant genes in matter, in such a way that they can be able to go to Europe and then sort of turn Europe black without even having to lift a sword, or having to throw one nuclear bomb, by just using their pipe, and then they can then be able to make it black. And then that is something that should be scary for any nation that is being, because that's an invasion, because that's basically how alien plants do. That's how alien plants do in your yard. You will have one, and then you ignore it, and then it has seeds, spread its seeds, and then now it starts changing the indigenous ones, and then from there it starts eating them up, and then sooner or later you have a garden full of weeds, and then you don't know where your plants are. So we should be happy that is happening. We should actually be happy that is happening, but I don't think they're gonna be happy that is happening. And then they also have to sort of offset their controls at some point as well. It might be good for us that maybe next time, in next 50 years or 100 years, when you go to Europe, you can go there and then start seeing the majority of people who look like you. It's better for. So in terms of the species, that is good for the winning species. But then for the other side, it's really not. That is why also they tried a lot of times also to reduce the African populations, and then to also, even for example in South Africa, for example, I think we have got about 13% plus minus 13% white population, you see. So but then if you can see the rate at which they are currently breeding, you will see that these people are on a mission. These people are here to actually, they are making babies like nobody's business. You see, they left. Yes, I'm telling you. because before you would see it is currently rare to actually find a couple, a black married couple that has got 6 or 7 children, 6 or 7. You see,
Which was the
but
norm, like back in the day.
it was not the norm back in the day, and then even having 13 children was a norm back in the day. But then in white families now, it is very, very common in Afrikaner families, to be specific. It is very, very common to have a family that has got 5, 6 kids. You see. So they are also understand the necessity of having numbers, because they're gonna be wiped out. They're gonna be wiped. Should anything happen, they're probably gonna be outnumbered. And then also, how do you see their fear as well in the way that they raise their children? They train they sort of militarily train their children, and then they make sure that they have the biggest plots, the biggest pieces of land. They make sure that their children are ahead in such a way that they can be able to compensate for the fewer numbers. But I can tell you for sure that they definitely want to make themselves more. And then we also argued about this. I think I was arguing with more about this. The myth that Africa is overpopulated, and then the results show actually that Africa is heavily underpopulated. I've been saying this for many times. You see that you guys are not making babies. It's really it should be really worrying. But out there, you are paraded as if you're actually making lots more babies. And then we actually have ended up believing the lie that we're actually the overpopulated race. But then you look at other nations, you see that now they've actually saturated their countries, and then they are now moving outside of their countries and conquering other countries by numbers. And by skills, by numbers. You look at the Indians, for example, by numbers and by the skills.
I wouldn't be surprised if the highest abortion rate comes from Africa. I wouldn't be surprised if the highest abortion rate would come from us.
Yes. So even the Chinese are doing the same thing. All other nations understand the necessity of building in numbers. They understand the necessity of numbers, of having more children. I always, again, make the example of Germany. That Germany is Germany in terms of square meter, in terms of area or square meter. It's equivalent in terms of size to the Northern Cape province. That is Germany. And then in Germany, there's got like 70 to 78 million people. I'm not so sure about that. All populating that area, which is equivalent to the Northern Cape province. And then you have got 50 to 60 million people in South Africa as a country, which is plus minus 4 or 5 times bigger than Germany. You see, and then I mean, you know as well that even though Northern Cape province is the biggest province, but is one of the 9 provinces of this country, excluding the landlocked country. So we are severely underpopulated. And then if we really want to be powerful, of course, we will have to upskill our people, have organized families, and then be deliberate and intentional about about the future that we want. And then it's still a little bit difficult to be organized, because I mean, even in one family you find one wants to be LGTB, and then one wants to be one wants to be agnostic, it's hard to have a unified families, which is also a sign of being disorganized as well, in such a way that everyone wants to be wants to identify as something other than identifying with a mission.
I think also with that whole population and area thing, it's also important to find out as well the area that people can inhabit, and not just the area of the area of the place. So I mean, there's a lot of land back home that you actually can't live by or live near. So it's also important to.
Why?
We'll
believe you.
Yeah, I'm also tired of shit.
Yeah, I'm fucking tired of shit.
I will get into that this weekend. Don't worry, bro.
Short for the lessons, coaches.
Cheers,
Cheers, man.